You like being in control, dictating the flow and pace of a game. So in most games, you gravitate towards playing a tank. But this is Overwatch, so it's entirely possible you're just a masochist and thrive on torturing yourself. Hello everybody, Vargon Draxar here, and I'm going to help you climb as a tank in Overwatch. Let's kick things off first with the fact that you as a tank are a bullet sponge. It is your job to take and mitigate damage for your team, both with your health pool and defensive abilities. Now, this does not mean to run in and take as much damage as humanly possible, but to put yourself in a position where you are the primary focus of the enemies. The more the enemy team is looking at you, the greater impact your DPS and supports can play in a game. While taking damage is your job, you do need to make sure that you're doing so safely through your positioning. What's extra important during teamfights for a tank is to take advantage of corners, environment, and high ground, while also ensuring you are in line of sight of your supports. If you find yourself taking too much damage, if you're in a good position, then you should be able to duck back behind cover and allow your supports to top you off. I mentioned staying in line of sight of your supports. That part is crucial. If your supports can't see you, they can't heal you, and it's better for you to make sure you put yourself in that position rather than force your supports out of their good positioning to ensure that you stay alive. Team communication here can be very helpful to make sure that you're allowing your supports to do their job. Our next topic for tank play is taking space. Now, this is a job that is not solely on the tank, but it is you who should be leading the charge in that respect. Moving forward and taking away area from your enemies allows your team to dictate the pace of a game. Did you just win a team fight? Great, move up and take map control. There is no reason to have the whole team on the objective. As the tank, you can lead your team to an ideal position to slow down or completely shut down your opponent's retake opportunity. Taking away high ground areas in these situations is crucial to stop a push. Now do keep in mind when taking space like this, on most game modes you will be down a teammate, more than likely a support, as at least one person needs to be moving the objective. So if things start looking dicey, don't be afraid to back up to allow your payload princess to rejoin the fight. I think another important tool in your belt as a tank is playing with confidence. Regardless of the matchup or rankings, you should start the game with the idea that you and your team are better than the opponents. This doesn't mean running at them 1v5 like a deranged lunatic, but going fast at the enemy, expecting you'll win each encounter. If the strategy doesn't work, then change things up on the next fight. But I find playing with confidence and aggression out the gate wins me more games than it loses. Next up, as a tank, somewhat more so than other roles in Overwatch, it's important to know who your teammates are playing. Knowing the effective range of damage and healing of the rest of your team can help your decision making when it comes to how to engage a fight. Do you have Tracer, Genji, Kiriko, Lucio on your team? You may want to prioritize playing a dive tank so you can initiate fights from the enemy backline. Do you have Ashe, Hanzo, Juno, Iari? You may want to pick a tank that excels at adding to poke damage or protecting your DPS so they can get value. Essentially, there's a few team compositions in Overwatch: Dive, Brawl, and Poke. These team comp names should be pretty self-explanatory, but I will go into them in further detail here. Dive excels at diving the enemy backline. Brawl excels at fighting together as a unit, pressing W and brawling the enemy team, and Poke excels at poking out enemies from range to force out early resources. I never like to dictate people's hero selections, but it would be advantageous to learn how to effectively play at least one tank in each comp. As of the current tank roster, for Dive, we have D.va, Doomfist, Winston, and Wrecking Ball. For Brawl, we have Junker Queen, Mauga, Orisa, Ramattra, Reinhardt, and Roadhog. For Poke, we primarily have Sigma, but Ramattra and Roadhog can also work quite well in Poke comps too. This doesn't mean that you can't play a hero like D.va if your team is primarily Poke focused. You may just need to adjust your playstyle, as you likely won't have the same backline to help you as you normally would in a full dive comp. Now, we did just talk team comps, so let's also talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to playing a tank: Counterwatch. It seems in the current state as of season 13 of Overwatch 2 that one of two things are true when it comes to tank. Either one or two tanks are hard meta so everyone is playing them, or it's a constant cycle of counter swapping. Now, I'm not saying to ignore counterplay when it comes to Overwatch, but countering to swap the enemy tank is not a surefire guaranteed way to win games. In fact, if you only look at the enemy tank when deciding if you're going to swap, you may be missing the DPS and supports on the enemy team that might counter your new selection. The main point here I'm trying to make is to play heroes you're comfortable or good with, rather than just playing around the opposing tank. I do think it's important to know what your counters are so that you can adjust your playstyle accordingly, and if that means you're going to swap to improve your odds, just make sure that you also keep in mind what the enemy backline looks like as well. Finally, I think the best tank advice I can give is don't tilt. Playing tank can be extremely frustrating. You're taking hundreds of damage a second at all times, eating all the enemy crucial cooldowns, and are spending the better half of the match getting CC'd into the dirt. This just means you're doing your job. Obviously you can take measures to avoid being CC'd to the moon and back, but at the end of the day, taking all the important cooldowns from the enemy onto yourself allows your DPS and supports to pop off. They may not thank you, but deep down you'll know that because you jumped in front of that sleep, your Reaper was able to get a 5k Death Blossom. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like and sub button, and if this guide helped you out, maybe share it with a hard stuck friend, and I will catch you all next time.